Welcome to the America250PA Start Here, America Did podcast, telling the unique stories that make up the diverse fabric of Pennsylvania.
Thank you so much for joining us today for another episode of the America250PA Start Here, America Did podcast series. I'm Cassandra Coleman, the Executive Director of America250PA. And I'm so excited to share that today we will be hearing from all of Pennsylvania's former governors who also serve as America250PA co-chairs. You will hear from former Governor Tom Ridge, Mark Schweiker, Ed Rendell, Tom Corbett, and Tom Wolf. We are looking forward to hearing each of their perspectives as we approach America's 250th anniversary in 2026. Our first guest today is Pennsylvania's 43rd Governor, Tom Ridge, who served from 1995 to 2001 and hails from the northwest part of the Commonwealth. Thank you so much for joining us here, Governor Ridge.
Well, it's a great pleasure to join you. Thank you. It's a very unique celebration. I'm really excited to be part of it. Thank you.
Thank you. And let's talk about your time as governor. So something that occurred while you were governor, of course, was 9/11. You left the Commonwealth to go to the federal government in D.C. to become the assistant to the president for Homeland Security, and then the first United States Secretary of Homeland Security. Can you talk to me a little bit about your military background and also approaching the 250th from a military perspective?
Well, as I think about my personal history, I am reminded that during the Vietnam War, I got a draft notice from President Nixon, and I was privileged to serve in the United States Army Infantry as a staff sergeant. And then, God forbid, years and years later, I got a phone call, not a letter, from President Bush in the aftermath of 9/11, and the history records what transpired after that. I was privileged to serve in his cabinet as Secretary of Homeland Security. On both occasions, I am reminded of the importance of our military in the evolution of our democracy and the preservation of our freedoms. And, it's really interesting when I think about Pennsylvania relationship. I think in that long history, you have to think about the Washington crossing the Delaware. And you got to think about the carnage at Gettysburg, where we fought to preserve the Union. And the words that Lincoln spoke at Gettysburg are so true today as they were now. If you recall, he said on that day that our father brought forth on this continent a new nation conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition, all men are created equal. And for centuries, thousands of men and women have worn military uniform to preserve those liberties and to preserve the Union. We will be celebrating their service, the service of those men and women, I think, during the course of the celebration of 250 PA.
Thank you for that perspective, Governor Ridge. And during your entire career, you placed a lot of focus on advocating for differently abled individuals. Talk to us about how we, as the Pennsylvania Commission for the United States Semi-Quincentennial, America250PA, can truly ensure that every Pennsylvanian can be part of our programming, projects, and events, and how important that is.
As a young grade school student, growing up in Erie, Pennsylvania, one of my best friends would be considered today a differently abled individual. But all of us who were friends saw all the ability, saw the smile and the character and the intellect and the joyfulness she brought to our environment. By the way, so you know this young woman, Betty Black was her name, she had polio. She contracted it before the Salk vaccine. And she wore heavy, heavy braces and had heavy crutches. And I can't remember a day, in spite of all her challenges, where she didn't have a smile on her face or kind word for people that helped her get along. A powerful impact. That's one of the reasons I went on to serve as chairman of the National Organization on Disability. It's the ability that counts. And so I hope that during this celebration, we make sure we include all those who are differently abled as part of the celebration. So if a community is having a local event or a regional event, there are groups and organizations in that community or region that represent the differently abled citizens. Please make a serious and sustained effort to pull them into the celebration. It's as important to them as it is to you and me. It's really exciting. We're going to spend significant time throughout the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania celebrating the very unique role our state has played in this country's history.
So, Governor Ridge, thank you so much for being here with us today. And thank you so much for your service to the Commonwealth, to our country, and of course, to this commission. We are so glad to have you. We hope to see you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been an honor to participate. Take care.
Former Governor Tom Ridge offers a final reflection.
I am delighted to have been asked to serve as honorary co-chair for the America250PA Commission. Given Pennsylvania's unique role in the founding of our republic, it is only appropriate that our Commonwealth be actively engaged in planning of what will surely be celebrations on the grandest of scales. Between now and 2026, I'd like to see all of us who serve this Commonwealth use it as an opportunity to remind our fellow Americans and Pennsylvanians about the core principles upon which our nation was founded. Among them, popular sovereignty and the rule of law. These are lessons worthy of repetition, now more than ever.
Our next guest is Pennsylvania's 44th governor, Mark Schweiker, who served from 2001 to 2003. So thank you so much for being here, Governor Schweiker.
Thanks, Cass, and look forward to our conversation.
Thank you. And thanks for taking the time. And you have been so actively engaged with America250PA since the creation of this commission back in 2018. And talk to me a little bit about what you've seen as we travel the Commonwealth, as you travel the Commonwealth, and talk about America250PA and the upcoming 250th anniversary of the country in 2026.
Sure. Well, from my vantage point, I think we see remarkable growth of the platform, this general platform that will help us in celebratory style reflect and enjoy the 250th birthday of this great republic. And by growth, I'm talking about whether it's the smallest hamlet in Pennsylvania or the big cities of Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, the desire to offer an opportunity to all Pennsylvanians across many jurisdictions, down to the townships and the borough level as well, the welcome that we've enjoyed. So I think the average Pennsylvanian and the stand-up leaders that see this coming quickly want to participate. So I would describe my form of interaction and experiences as one of a sense of great reward. I think we've got wonderful momentum as supporters of this effort and the commission itself. And finally, I'd say I'm encouraged when I see the sheer number of counties, the sheer number of jurisdictions, the large number of nonprofits and institutions and universities that have committed themselves. I'm tremendously encouraged that I think we're going to show an entire world, and certainly this country, in 2026, that we will remember fondly our prominent role in 1776 and really want to fill the bill again in 2026 in terms of attractive, fun, and entertainment options for all who come to visit here or who live here.
Now, and Governor, you mentioned about the local engagement, the local stories, the local history. Every community, every municipality, county, et cetera, all have their own history and things to bring to the table. And, you know that I was a former local borough mayor. We've taken the approach, growing this commission, building this commission from the ground up. Talk to me about your background. You were in local politics as a supervisor of Middletown Township. You were a Bucks County commissioner. talk to those local municipal leaders who may not have passed the resolution yet, who may have not become an official partner yet. Talk to them about why this is important.
Well, I think, the first order of business is to encourage them to talk with their colleagues and allies in these different jurisdictions and hear those folks talk about the wonder, the excitement, and just the dynamic community effort and fun that will be enjoyed in 2026 because of their effort they're giving it right now in terms of organizing and developing programs for all. So that would be my first counsel to those communities that haven't made the formal move to support the effort as yet. And then secondly, to think about really the heritage of local government and the idea that not every endeavor or policy pursuit ought to be led by the folks in Washington, D.C., although they do important work, ought not to be led by the folks in Harrisburg, although they do important work. We are a big commonwealth that always believed that we didn't want to consolidate too much power and authority in one level of government. And we are comfortable with local leadership and the effort and the predominance, depending on what the government function is, with local government. It was Abraham Lincoln who once said, this country, this form of democracy will not perish from the earth. And he went on to say, it's going to be of the people, by the people, and for the people. In my mind, our accent on our comfort with local leaders representing their neighbors, their people, is an important American value. But in what we choose to offer in 2026 and in the run-up years to 2026 is for their leadership, dynamic as it is, to guarantee that this is a gathering, this is a party, so to speak. This is a set of events that are open to all. And what better guarantee than those who lead at the local level, who know their neighbors and know these people, to say, we want you involved. I think it's a form of glue. It's a form of encouragement that guarantees that we'll celebrate the Republic, but we give tremendous weight to what Abe Lincoln once said, that it's about the people of the United States of America. And that is our preference. That is our leaning as far as the commission mentality, so that these parties can be accessed by every Pennsylvanian and for those who choose to come and visit Pennsylvania during that time.
And thank you, Governor Schweiker, because as you know, I truly believe that local governments are the lifeblood of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and that local engagement and that local support truly will ensure a successful semi-quin, which will engage every Pennsylvanian in every county. So I want to thank you for taking the time to join us today. And I look forward to seeing you soon out on the trail here. So thank you for all the work you've done on behalf of this commission. We truly appreciate it.
Sure, thanks.
Former Governor Mark Schweiker offers a final reflection.
As a Bucks County native who grew up with a love of our area's role as the birthplace of our nation, I'm honored to join the important work of the America250PA Commission. From the earliest days of William Penn's Holy Experiment to the great experiment born from our founding fathers at Independence Hall, Pennsylvania is an all too fitting place to celebrate our great nation's semi-quincentennial.
Next up is Pennsylvania's 45th governor, Ed Rendell, who served from 2003 until 2011. Thank you so much for joining us, Governor Rendell.
My pleasure.
So, Governor, prior to being governor, you served as the mayor of Philadelphia. And Philadelphia, we all know, will ultimately be one of the nation's epicenters for celebrating on July 4th of 2026. So how can we represent the importance of Philadelphia in this celebration and also attract not only Pennsylvanians, but also people from across this country and the world for the 250th?
Well, it's interesting. You're right. There is no official host city, but 4 cities have been named by the America250 as being the central cities of the celebration. And that's Boston, New York, Washington, D.C., and Philadelphia. Philadelphia, frankly, should own this celebration because more things of importance happen in Philadelphia than all the other cities put together. It wasn't an accident that the First Continental Congress was in Philadelphia. The Second Continental Congress was in Philadelphia. Philadelphia was where we decided to take the perilous step of seeking by force to gain our independence from Great Britain. And so Philadelphia inherently should be the center of a celebration of our 250th. Now, how can we represent the importance of Philadelphia in this celebration and also attract not only Pennsylvania, but people across the country? Well, by emphasizing what Philadelphia meant to the original celebration, why it was the most important city in the United States back then, why it had so many thought leaders, why it had the Quakers that were so important to some of the moral values of the country. Pennsylvania's central role in not only hosting the Continental Congress, but in setting up the issues and speaking to the values that were in place that led us to make this what many people would have referred to as a perilous decision. And for us, it's important that we have a great celebration for the people of Philadelphia because, look, we have a lot to celebrate, not only the people of Philadelphia, but the people of America. We've done wonders in creating the best democracy in the planet, democracy that has more individual freedom than any place on this earth. And we should be proud of what we've done. But we also should take this as a moment for us to recognize there's still some things that are challenging us here in America, things that have to be straightened out and we have to pay attention to. And we can do it. This is an important, everyone says how polarized we are as a country, red states, blue states, liberals, conservatives. And all that is true. But that's because we've forgotten what made us a country in the first place. The fact that we all had one common goal. We may have disagreed about the ways to reach that goal, but we all had a common goal. And it's very important that we try to imbue again into America that sense of togetherness, that sense of we're all in this to better our country, and see if we can use this celebration to eradicate some of the partisanship and some of the hateful rhetoric that is present throughout the country. And we can do this. We need to have a change in thinking. I give one example because it's a great example. You all, of course, have heard of John Dickinson. He has a college in Pennsylvania named after him. And he was a member of the First Continental Congress. And he was an opponent of going to war against Great Britain. He thought it would be a disaster for us. He thought there was no way we could compete against Britain, which had the strongest army and navy in the world. So he spoke and advocated trying to redress grievances with the king, but not outright revolution and separation. Well, as time went on, as the Second Continental Congress met, the ground rules were that every delegation had to vote for independence or else there would be no independence. It had to be unanimous. Pennsylvania had 8 delegates. 4 of them sided with Dickinson and were against independence, and 4 were for independence. And the night before the vote, and the vote took place on July 2nd, not July 4th, July 2nd. Well, the night before the vote, Dickinson realized the overwhelming majority of Pennsylvanians wanted independence. And so he decided he couldn't oppose independence, but he couldn't in good conscience vote for it. So he stayed away from Independence Hall. He didn't appear. And because he didn't cast his vote against independence, and independence carried. Dickinson didn't come the next day to the Continental Congress. He sent in a note resigning as delegate to the Continental Congress. And he resigned, and then he joined the army. Now, hearing that, you'd assume that Dickinson, who was the chief advocate against independence, would have joined the British Army, as a great number of Pennsylvanians did. But no, despite his misgiving, Dickinson joined the Army of the Revolution and went on to become one of our great patriots. boy, do we need some John Dickinsons right now. We're going to put aside their own particular needs and do what's right for the country. So that's the key to what we need to do for America. For us as a city, Philadelphia, we have to put on a great show, again, reiterating in the nation's mind why Pennsylvania and particularly Philadelphia was the key to the revolution, the role that Pennsylvania and Philadelphia played, not only in the revolution, but Philadelphia was a major city in the United States for a long time. And we have a chance to show America all of the good things about Pennsylvania and Philadelphia. And I think if we do it right, and I intend to make sure we do it right, along with my fellow governors and Governor Shapiro, if we do it right, we can again put Pennsylvania in the spotlight and make it a place that people want to come to and visit and make it a must-see for every American.
I think it's so important that you bring up being Pennsylvanians first. I think we as Pennsylvanians have so much to be proud of across our Commonwealth for all of those Pennsylvanians' contributions to this country over the last 250 years. Another topic that comes up all the time is how America250PA is funded. And as you know, our legislation calls for this commission to have all of our programming projects and events being able to be implemented across all 67 counties to ensure that we engage every Pennsylvanian in every county. And as you also know, this so far has been a true public-private partnership. But, it's really important for us to really engage our Pennsylvania businesses, the folks who have chosen to build their businesses here, raise their families here, employ our Pennsylvanians, and provide good paying jobs. Talk to me a little bit about why you believe more Pennsylvania businesses should want to be involved in this historic milestone anniversary.
For a simple reason. If we do this right, if we remind the nation what a central role Pennsylvania and Philadelphia played in leading the revolution, we have a chance to experience great growth from this. What we do in this semi-quincentennial can be very important into spurring people to come to Pennsylvania and Philadelphia in the future, to relocate businesses to Pennsylvania and to Philadelphia, to come with their family, to bring their kids there to learn about America, to see the beauties of this American city, which is a stunning city. I mean, the Parkway is very much like the Champs-Élysées. In fact, I think since the Champs-Élysées has sort of been overpopulated with businesses, the Parkway may be the most beautiful street in the free world. But it's a chance for us to show off our heritage, to show off the values that made Philadelphia the hub of this celebration, and to make businesses and people want to come to Philadelphia. College students want to come to school in Philadelphia. Senior citizens to make Philadelphia a must-stop once every year. So it's a chance for us to grow dramatically. And we've seen periods of growth like that before. In 1992, the city experienced the beginning of a 25-year growth spurt in which we made our way back into the nation's consciousness as one of the highlight cities in America. But we've run into challenges over the last few years. And it's a chance to start anew and remind people again what made Philadelphia so remarkable and what keeps it remarkable as a focal point of what we do as a democracy.
Thank you so much, Governor Rendell, for offering your perspective here today and for all of your continued support for America250PA as one of our co-chairs with your other former governors. And again, thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
Thanks working with you guys again.
Former Governor Ed Rendell offers a final reflection.
These type of celebrations give us a chance as Americans to reflect upon a remarkable journey to get where we are today as a nation and on the challenges that lay ahead. This process can be incredibly beneficial for the country and for Philadelphia, and I'm excited about that. Although there is no official host city for the America 250 celebration, because the events that led to the founding of our country, because they happened here. It will give Philadelphia and Pennsylvania the opportunity to highlight our progress and the role we played and continue to play in being thought leaders of the concept that make America great. I believe people will flock to Pennsylvania to be part of this.
Next up today, we have Pennsylvania's 46th governor, Tom Corbett, joining us. And he served from 2011 through 2015. Thanks so much for being here, Governor Corbett.
Well, thank you for having me, Cassandra.
And as you know, we are talking about America 250 PA and the 250th anniversary, both here in the Commonwealth and across the country. And, talk to me a little bit today, Governor, about prior to being governor, you were a history teacher. And can you really talk to me about the importance of educating and engaging our youth through the 250th anniversary and through the development of programming, and how that's truly important to engage that next generation of Pennsylvanians?
Well, first off, I think it's extremely important for each generation to make sure that the succeeding generation understands the strong history that this country has since before its founding in 1776, but particularly since 1776. Unfortunately, I don't think that we teach it as much as we used to. I was a history teacher for 1 year before I went to law school. I grew up loving history. I had a father and a mother who taught me history. And the reason I say we need to understand history is you learn from what happened in the past, and hopefully you improve upon that. Not necessarily we succeed in that, but you want to learn from the past. And if you don't understand history, you can't understand what the issues are and how you can guide the future. So I'm a strong believer in history and civics also. I want to see more of it. I want to see a greater emphasis on it in grade school. Importantly, I have 6 grandchildren between the ages of 7 and 14. I'm teaching them history every time I talk to them a little bit, because we have such a wonderful country here. We are unique in the world. We're the largest democracy in the world. We are the safest democracy in the world. But I think because we've been in existence for 250 years, it's hard for people in their 30s and 20s and teens to understand that it wasn't always like this. History continues to change, and you see the evolution of this country. But to understand the evolution, you have to understand how we started out as a colony, how we grew with independence, how we continue to grow across the entire continental United States, and then even into Alaska and Hawaii to create the best democracy in the world.
I couldn't agree more with you, Governor. And as you know, from being a co-chair of America 250 PA, you know that through our Keystone Classroom initiative, which you participated in this past school year with us out in Butler County, you know that we are truly engaging every generation of Pennsylvanians, starting with our youngest. And you joined us for that Keystone Classroom visit out at Moraine. Talk to me a little bit about reading to those students and their reaction to K is for Keystone and learning a little bit about Pennsylvania's history.
Well, Cassandra, I'm sure you recall that the classroom that I had, the teacher to that classroom really had them prepped on our history. And I was very impressed. I think it was a 3rd grade class, and they understood the history pretty well. I'm not sure that I understood history as well as they did when I was in 3rd grade so many, many years ago. But I would like to see more of what that teacher was able to do with those students. I think it's important for everybody to understand that history. And they understood it. They understood it from the standpoint of becoming a colony, becoming independent, going through a revolution, even going through, if I recall, we talked a little bit about the Civil War. We didn't get up into the 20th century or the 21st century, but we did understand, and they did understand, the importance of Pennsylvania. And as we all know, it's called the Keystone State for many, many reasons. They understood that keystone notion that Pennsylvania is a very important state to the independence of this country and to the greatness of this country.
honestly, for us, what we want to do is, of course, have those students then recognize in 50 years when the 300th rolls around that they were part of history for the 250th through programs like Keystone Classroom. And Governor Corbett, we spoke earlier to Governor Rendell about the significance of Philadelphia in our nation's history and how ultimately that will draw a lot of attention in 2026. But as you know, the legislation for America250PA calls that this commemoration and celebration and all of our programming and projects must be a 67 county-wide initiative. So talk to me again a little bit about how we ensure that Western Pennsylvania is included in all of our programs and projects.
It's very interesting because when this country was founded, Pennsylvania became an independent colony and then later a state. Some of the counties didn't exist, or particularly in Western Pennsylvania, Allegheny County didn't exist then. It was all part of Westmoreland County. And in fact, as you may recall, there was a dispute as to whether southwestern Pennsylvania was part of Virginia or Pennsylvania, which was eventually resolved. But in order for people in western Pennsylvania to understand the history, you've got to go back to Philadelphia. And Ed Rendell has the benefit of being the governor from Philadelphia and the mayor of Philadelphia. Our independence started there with the Declaration of Independence. But we were a colony. Western Pennsylvania was part of that colony. But we were the frontier. Now, our history in Western Pennsylvania goes back through the French and Indian War, which is a battle between England and France over portions of Western Pennsylvania and Ohio and upstate New York. Very important part of the overall history of this continent, but it led up to eventually the Revolutionary War. So if we have different events like we had at Moraine, throughout the course of now until 26, it's important that we continue to refer to Philadelphia, but to the growth of Pennsylvania, the growth of history across Pennsylvania in all the different regions. Up in Sullivan, we'll pick Sullivan County. Cassandra, you know that. That's in your neighborhood up there, and how important General Sullivan was, who the county was named after, in the war for independence. But that independence was just the seed to the beginning of creating what I always consider the greatest state in the 50 states of the United States Union.
And Pennsylvania continues to lead the nation on the 250th activities. We're proud of that. And we are so grateful to you, Governor Corbett, for being here with us today, but also for your continued support. So thank you again for the time today.
My pleasure, and I look forward to seeing you more in the future.
Thanks, Governor.
Former Governor Tom Corbett offers a final reflection.
I'm honored and pleased to serve as an honorary co-chair of America250PA. Throughout my life, one of my greatest interests and joys was to read and study history, especially American history. In fact, before law school, I taught history at Pine Grove Area High School in Schuylkill County. I believe the work of the Commission will be extremely important in assisting the planning of the celebration of our nation's 250th birthday. Just as importantly, I hope the years leading up to the celebration will ignite greater interest in and study the founding of our nation. As Winston Churchill once said, "A nation that forgets its past has no future." This celebration will allow us to remind Pennsylvanians of our nation's past, Pennsylvania's past, and the crucial role that Pennsylvania played in our independence.
Next up today, we have Pennsylvania's 47th Governor, Tom Wolf, who served from 2015 to 2023 and hails from York County. Thank you so much for being here, Governor Wolf.
Thanks, Cassandra.
Governor, you were in office at the time the America250PA legislation was passed back in 2018. Can you share your intent behind supporting that legislation and what your hopes were for this commission?
You know, the intent of the legislation creating the 250th Commission was, one, to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the founding of the nation, and two, to shine a bright light on Pennsylvania's key role in that founding. The hope was, and is, that the Commission shows just how key that role was in Pennsylvania, in the founding of the nation. But I also wanted to do something else. I wanted to celebrate the key role Pennsylvania has played in the 250 years of American history since that founding in 1776. Yeah, this Declaration of Independence was drafted and it was signed in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, but it was reaffirmed and in blood 77 years later in the Battle of Gettysburg, in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. We've had 2 constitutions as a nation, and both were drafted in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania has been at the heart of the revolutions that have happened in transportation, in industry, in agriculture, in business. We've been there, and we're an important state. We're the 5th largest state in the nation, and we remain a key player of the extraordinary nation that has developed over the past 250 years. That is indeed worth celebrating. It's indeed worth remembering. And that's another reason why the 250th Commission's role is so important and what they do is so important to Pennsylvania. I believe the Commission is doing a great job just doing this. It has devised creative ways to remind us all, both of our nation's founding and the unique role Pennsylvania has played in that founding.
So thank you so much for joining us, Governor. We appreciate your time today and all of your continued support for America250PA.
Thanks a lot.
Former Governor Tom Wolf offers a final reflection.
As a native of Pennsylvania and as an avid history buff, I'm excited by the chance this commission gives us to remind our fellow Americans of the Commonwealth's central role in the creation of our nation.
Thank you so much for listening today. We hope that the perspectives of our Pennsylvania governors truly illustrate the importance of the semi-quincentennial in 2026, as well as the bipartisanship of this commission. Regardless of backgrounds, beliefs, or policies, we are all Pennsylvanians first and foremost, and we're thrilled to continue developing epic programs, projects, and events that will allow all Pennsylvanians to get involved. We encourage you to join us and become a part of history at America250PA.org.
This has been the America250PA Start Here, America Did podcast, produced by Commonwealth Media Services. Stay tuned for more epic Pennsylvania stories at America250PA.org.